especially if you love the game of rugby league, has given us great joy over, well, the last decade, depending on which team you follow, whether it be the Warriors or the Kiwis. 206 NRL matches, but it all started from an early age when there's a double international in touch, and also Aussie rules get that one. 32 tests for the Kiwis, one NRL All-Stars game. He played in 2 grand finals for the Warriors, winning one at the tender age of 21, I think it was, which was, no, younger than that. It was 21 when he played in his other grand final, his debut year. But he won one in the Toyota Cup, and also in 2011, he lost against Manly in the final there as well. But what a career he's had, and he's home. Welcome home, brother. How are you?
Yeah, thanks, Mont. Geez, some intro. Holy. Had to do a bit of research for that. But no, it's good to be home, bro. Yeah, really excited for obviously the next couple of years. So yeah, you just get to be back around some Kiwis, bro. It's a very good feeling.
Bro, what's it been like playing through this pandemic? Because no one saw it coming. No one's ever experienced this. And a lot of times people talk about eras and they try and compare eras. You can't do that because the game is just so different. But now no one can even begin to experience what it's like to be a player in these times. And even more so for you now that you're going to be a Warrior, going back and forth or staying there.
Yeah, it's been a very, I guess, unique couple of years, and it's been a first for everyone, which has probably been the level playing field of it all. We've every team, every club's faced different challenges, and I think probably at the top of the list is probably the Warriors with what they've had to do in terms of fully relocating countries and the sacrifices they've made. But from when COVID hit and we went into lockdown when I was at the Sharks. It was a weird period, bro, because like you've gone from being around a team constantly. We actually just done the whole preseason together. You've got all these grand plans on how the season's going to play out. Then it just comes to a halt pretty quickly, and you get pretty much sent a program, and you got to go and stay fit on your own for the next sort of however long it was. I think it was just over a month or 2 months. So going from that team environment to sort of having to do it on your own and keeping yourself accountable. Knowing that eventually it was going to pay off when you're back around the boys again. So really crazy time. And then obviously it's just been dragged out, over the last couple of years. But I think we're all pretty accustomed to it now. It's one of those things we've sort of adapted now. And we sort of just have been able to, I think, a majority of the clubs and players in particular have just been able to take it in their stride and just that sort of simple saying, it is what it is. You can't sometimes you can't think about it, and it is what it is. You just got to roll with it.
David Tua, it is what it is, and no one's going to argue with that, man. That's for sure, bro. Go back to when you were a kid. Double international, like we said, touch, but also Aussie rules. What sort of kid were you, bro?
I was a very, I guess, outgoing competitive kid. Like I was extremely competitive, and probably to the point where that competitiveness probably tipped over into the sore loser side as well. I was one of those ones, bro. I was quite an emotional, competitive kid. That's probably how I'd best describe myself. And ultimately, like that competitiveness sort of drove me. And then the lessons I got from, licking my wounds and being humble in defeat as well. I'm pretty. It's funny. I talk about. I'm actually quite proud of myself. How I've, I don't really have that. Like someone beats me on the day, a better team beats me on the day, I can just take it on the chin. You know what I mean? It's sort of like I gave it my best crack, but it is what it is. Like it's sort of something I've sort of lived by and I've molded myself into, I guess, over my journey in the NRL in particular. But as a kid, bro, very very competitive, loved all sports, try my hand at most things. Off the sports field, bit of a fussy eater, my parents would say. I was a skinny kid, but a kid that loved all sports. And just want to clear the record, I didn't actually play for New Zealand in touch. I did make the team. However, the expense to actually play for New Zealand was way too expensive for my solo mother.
I'm sure they'd be honoured to know that you made the team, and you even just mentioned them right now. But you're also a defiant kid too, bro, because a lot of people told you from a young age, they told this competitive young man that you're too small. You would never make it in rugby league. So why would you not listen to all these doubters out there?
I heard that. I heard that far too many times for, I think, a kid to hear, like whether it's in sport and whatever they wanted to do, like just to be told that, no, you can't do that because of this, you know what I mean? Whatever reason it was, I reckon I heard it far too many times. But in saying that, what I had behind me with my family, my dad, the help I had from them, because they're hearing it at the same time, I remember I got left out of I think it was under 13s, Auckland rep side. Remember, he pulled me and another teammate into this room, and he literally sat us down and goes, "Hey boys, sorry, we're not gonna you know, like have you part of the squad. We were sort of a wider training group, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I was, but you know, like I sort of thought he was a really good player. I thought, you know, like we could have probably been the starting halves, really, you know, for this team. And you're only 12, 13 years old at this stage. But I remember we just go, oh, like, is there a reason? Like, oh, why? Type thing, you know, a bit gutted. And he just simply said, yeah, look, you're too small to play this game. And it was, it was like, okay, that's cool. Like, it's just maybe at the time I didn't realize. I definitely at the time didn't go, I'm going to bank that and it's going to come back and bite you in the butt one day. But for some reason, it stuck with me. And thankfully, both my parents are bloody 5'4" and 5'2". So I got my height from somewhere. I don't know, maybe the milkman. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, other siblings have got don't have the height like you either.
No, they don't. So I got some sort of genetic boost there, which I'm very grateful for. And I have an amazing dad that fed me copious amounts of foods to just bulk me up. And it worked, bro. It worked. Combine that with hard work and dedication, and yeah, it worked.
So how do you become like Teflon, or how do you use the people telling you you're not good enough from a very early age, where you're very impressionable, and turn that against them, and then show the world actually how good you are, and you're built for this game, or you're made for this game anyway?
Yeah, Monso, I think a lot of people are driven by different factors, and I often actually think about what drives me. You know, what's my reason, you know, for wanting to be, you know, I guess the best possible version of myself. And I've never been one to be sort of spiteful or be, you know, like, okay, I'm going to use your thoughts and your, what's the right word for it? Like disbelief about me against you, you know, like I've never been about that. I've always been one that's sort of just been like, it doesn't matter what anyone else's expectations are of me. It's about what my expectations are of myself, you know, and that's probably been throughout my career the constant pillar when I think about all the criticism I've copped, all the praise I've copped, the highs and the lows, the fluctuations, all of it. It's never been about external. It's always been about, okay, well, Eshe, what's your, you know, what do you want for yourself? What do you believe in? You know what I mean? What can you go to bed at night or look yourself in the mirror each day and be happy with, you know? And for me, it's never been about external. It's always been about what's directly in front of me and what I can control, you know? So
I suppose a lot of that's going to come down to your dad, and he's been by your side and giving you direction the whole way through. And now you've got young Mila, or MJ as you call her. You're loving parenthood, and how are you finding that with that extra sort of purpose it gives you to get up and do what you do?
Yeah, it's been certainly a blessing, bro. I think it's definitely been a game changer. Like I just touched on my whole career, it's been about, you know, what are you happy about? You know, and now it's sort of like you throw in, well, what would Miller be proud about? What would MJ be happy with? And it's sort of like far out, man. Like I'm unstoppable now, you know, like I want to do whatever I can. I want to be the best possible version of myself because I've got someone else to do it for. You know what I mean? I've got someone else that's going to be looking up to me. So it's a special feeling. And I think all fathers, mothers can agree it's the best feeling in the world.
Whangapara, you're on the other side, which is predominantly a bit more rugby as well. People tell you you weren't good enough. You defied them all. You didn't listen, and you find yourself playing rugby league on TV in the Toyota Cup. How did this come about, man? Because, you know, like even at that age, there's still very much a rugby nation. I'm sure there would have been a lot of people trying to coerce you into playing that game.
Yeah, man. Like I still just, I think about it now. What are we, 10, 11, 12 years on? And I buzz about what I was doing at 19, 20 years old, playing on TV, you know, like in stadiums you grew up watching. It's just surreal that was even a moment in time, you know, that actually happened. So I played, like you said, bro, exactly right. A lot of rugby this side of the bridge, a lot of obviously New Zealand rugby dominant. So I had the fair share of people pulling me over, and I played a bit of first 15, played a bit of sort of weight restricted rugby through my mates when I first started college, and really enjoyed it. Like it was fun just with the boys, you know. But sort of as you got a bit older and it either became sort of, you know, you give something a proper crack, I definitely realized, you know, fairly quickly that rugby league was the sport for me, and that was the sport I loved. So whoever was pulling me in other directions, it didn't matter, you know, whether it was AFL, touch, it was just rugby league at that point. You know, it got to a point where it was really clear for me. So yeah, man, that led to pretty much through a highlights video in a roundabout way. I won't just drag it out. In a roundabout way, there was a highlights video of me going around playing touch and a bit of sevens. few head wobbles, few cranks, few Tuivasa shakes in there, and then pretty much got picked up from a family friend who I think knew Sponge at the Warriors. And it was just like a link chain, really. And then it just landed in the right people's hands. There was Frank Harold, there was Dane, there was Laurie Hale. They were all involved in this little sort of scouting process to get me involved with the development side.
Crazy. You mentioned that early start, like the first 3 years was unreal, and 2 years back to back, 2010, 2011, just so very young. You're playing back to back grand finals. You won one of them. You set the world on fire in your debut season, and you debuted later on in the year. And then you just went on this run to the grand final. When you think about a debut season, was there a little bit of a naivety in that, in terms of, wow, this shit is easy? Is this all you're going to do to play rugby league and to play at the best and play in the grand final in your debut year? What was going through your mind when you look back and reflect now as one of the veterans and seniors of the competition?
Yeah, it's a cool discussion to have. Like, I really enjoy this part of my career in terms of talking about it, because I'm thankful it happened. I wouldn't change my journey for anything, right? But I often wonder, if it didn't happen, what does the rest of my career look like? You know, because you come into a league and you're right. Like, I remember thinking, like, how good is playing in the NRL? You win every week, you're playing grand finals. You know what I mean? Like I was a young kid, and all I was doing, I was playing off the back of some amazing players. You know what I mean? Although I was the kid everyone was talking about and I had the highlights package, I wasn't the main guy. We had Jimmy Maloney, we had Michael Luck, we had Lance Ohio, you know, we had Aaron Jeremiah, we had some outstanding players, you know. Like, I just jumped on the back of what they were doing. So it wasn't, for me, it was like, man, like, cheers, boys. Like, I'm living the dream. I'm winning every week. Now I'm going to go play in a grand final. How good. And you're right. There was a certain element like, yeah, well, hey, we lost this one, but we'll be back.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then it's not until you're not there for the next 7 or 8 years, it's like, what just happened? You know, where did that go? Like, there's an element of me that often thinks, like, man, how stories can just be so different. You know what I mean? Imagine if I'd come into the comp and I was just that slow burner. You know what I mean? And then I never had that expectation of a nation, and I guess of fans alike. Hey, you did it that year, let's do it every other year.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because that's it. Like, that's their first glimpse of Shaun Johnson. This is the wonder kid. So, like, expectation and pressures on you from the early age is unreal. But also, you know, not just the naivety in thinking that this is great and we do this every week. The naivety in thinking that you're not going to get anyone who's going to say shit about you, because you know what? You've got people on this side who love you and they give you all the applause. But then as soon as you don't do well, where did that come from? Haters galore, bro. So how did you start to deal with that a little bit and just sit across the two and having a balance between taking the accolades, but also thinking, wow, I've just got to be careful, because, you know, with the good comes the bad.
Yeah, that was the eye-opener part of it all. And it's funny, a lot of people, and I still see it today, like, a lot of people, they expect, obviously, performance. They expect what goes on the field, but then they expect you to be able to deal with it a certain type of way off the field, right? And what a lot of people misunderstand is that we don't get trained to handle situations, because some of the situations NRL players and athletes alike get put in, you can't train for. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no simulator that'll just train you and prepare you for that, you know? And that was the bit of my career where it took years and different ups and different downs to really absorb and understand how am I going to best cope with this moving forward, because it wasn't smooth. It wasn't like, I had a handle on it right from the start. You know, it was something that it took a bit of time to really get on top of, you know, like really, really get on top of, because like coming off 2011, everyone, the country was that excited about the Warriors and that excited about Shaun Johnson. And coming to 2012, and every year we sort of had little patches of, you know, that hype. Yeah. But then ultimately we'd tail off, and it would just be like, ended up becoming that cycle, that vicious cycle of, you know, passion mixed with emotion of the Warriors not doing well. So wearing that, absorbing that, realizing that, hey, you take the good with the bad, or you're never too far from the line. And this is something I've referred to a lot over the last few years. You know, I like to stay nice and level. Nice. And I like to think to myself, nothing's never as bad as it is. but nothing's never as good as it is either. So
Love it.
you never fall too far from this line. And if your line is your performance line, is your lifeline, is your business line, whatever, you just try to stay as close to that as possible. You never get too far ahead, you never get too below, and you find you're able to cope with situations a little better.
Yeah, consistency over intensity. When I always talk about that, and that means that the highs and the lows, that you don't experience them as often. And you're talking about off the field, on the field performance, and everything across a couple of lanes. So that's amazing. Now, idols, inspo, in terms of our sport and the great sport, and what you've done for a lot of people who wanted to play rugby league instead of playing for the All Blacks. You've mentioned that about Benji and Stacey Jones as well. But the fact that you have got the opportunity over the years to play with these guys that inspired you and have good friendships with them. How's that been in terms of the feeling and experience? But also, what have you learned from these guys like Stacey Jones, Benji Marshall, who's just retired?
Yeah, it's special. It's special to form relationships with, people that your first introduction to them was them being on the telly, doing what you wish you could have done. And if I'm being honest, Mons, that head better not grow any much more than what it already is. But even sitting here having this conversation with you, and being able to work with you, whether you take us flog us with boxing sessions or whatnot, like I first saw you on the telly, you know what I mean? And it's like now I'm here having chats with these guys that I have so much respect for, and to realize that they're just normal people. That's the bit where I take the most out of it, so to have relationships with yourself, Stace, Benji, all players, is the bit I'm going to take away from the game, and probably the bit I'm most excited to, I guess, for me to give back to the next generation that might be, watching me on the telly right now, and hopefully I can have a chat with them in 10 years' time, and they're going to be saying, bro, like, Shawnee, I can't believe you're just a normal fella that, I put you on this pedestal once upon a time, but you're just a knockabout guy, like that's the coolest part about it all.
Yeah, there's two names over the years at the Warriors that have just been above all, not so much in terms of being deserving of, but in terms of favourites of the fans. And that's Stacey Jones and that is Shaun Johnson. Both were in the number 7, so it's absolutely crazy. So I'd love to know two things. Some of the lessons you learned from those guys and some of the lessons you teach to the new guys coming through, because, I mean, you're at that stage now where you've experienced so much and still so much to do, but very grateful that you're there to pass on these learnings to everyone.
Yeah, no, I had a conversation, 2012 Kiwis debut. I'll never forget it, because when you talk about passing on, this is the bit that I remember so, I guess, with such good connection that's the bit I want to take away, and that's who I want to be. I remember Benji pulling me aside, and I'm 21 years old, and I'm about to play my first test match in the halves with the person I grew up watching and, idolizing. He just pulled me aside, simple as this. Pulled me aside, said, "Hey, Shawnee, I just want to let you know you belong here, and pretty much whatever you want on the weekend, you want to kick the ball, you want to call a play, you do it, and I'll react, and it's all good. Like, don't feel like you've got to take a back seat to anything. You're here for a reason. We're all equal. You're on." That sort of chat. And for me, that was so valuable. That was like, I remember even thinking at the time, like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Like, that is just giving me a whole breath of confidence, a whole sense of purpose, and that I am, I am meant to be in this moment right now, because early in my career, there was a lot of like, sort of bit of like, man, am I good enough to kind of be doing this right now? You know what I mean? It's
really?
like, yeah.
How early, bro?
Well, 2011 season, like I remember we had Brett Seymour, who was a seasoned campaigner playing in reserve grade, and we're going to play in a grand final. I remember Isaac John, like we had players that were probably built for that moment a bit better than I was at the time, but that I was getting picked. So like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, like of course, like this is so cool. And, and then I was doing stuff on the weekends that, it was just like warranting my selection. But at the same time, I was like, man, like I'm holding off some pretty good players right now, and I never lost sight of that. And even 2012, like, I think I was sort of next in line because Kieran Foran got injured, so he wasn't able to play, so now I'm stepped into this international scene where I'm like, woo, like this is crazy, like mixing with Adam Blair, like dudes like that. I'm like, this is buzzy, so yeah, like Benji doing just that simple chat anyway, bro. Sorry to go a long way around it, but that simple chat is something that I am constantly, trying to breathe that confidence into the youngsters that might feel the same. in saying that, though, a lot of these kids these days are built different. They come into the scene and they're confident as.
Yeah, but we thought the same about you kids coming through, right?
Yeah, so it's buzzy. That's what I see when I see these young fellas coming through. I'm like, dude, how are you speaking like that to one of your older players? Like, I would never speak like that to a Michael Luck back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was like, yeah, Lucky, whatever you need, bro, let's you say, and I'll do, but you need it, really. You know what I mean? You don't want them to come in there and be in their shell. You want them to come in there and express themselves. So the more I can allow someone to do that, that's a lesson I'm going to hold on to for life. And that's what I'm excited about passing on.
Awesome. You mentioned Benji's chat. Now, in terms of your chat, inner chat, self-talk, belief, because I know you've worked with some high-performance people over the years. Do you have any favorite tools that you use to stay on top of your game, or things that you do on the daily to keep you being the best version of you?
I don't know if I can hone into one. I almost have like, how do I explain it? I have little sort of mantras or little, I guess, pillar points that I like to resort back to in moments of, even if I get a bit frustrated, outside of footy, I'm at home, get frustrated in footy, you know what I mean? And like, for me, it's always about perspective. So I think it's very easy to take for granted the situation you're in, especially when maybe it's not going to plan. And like, my whole perspective little bubble I'm living in right now is that I'm going to have to go to Australia in a month's time, and I'm not going to be without my family. Right. So that's going to be my little sacrifice. So everything in this moment right now, when I wake up, I do things, I get a bit frustrated. I maybe miss something important, miss a meal, miss my rehab currently. I always pull it back. Well, hold on. Like, you're not going to be around your family for much longer. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be able to do what you've got to do for much longer. Just simply do it. You know what I mean? Like, you get up, you do it. You do what you have to do. And that whole perspective balance and that whole perspective view has certainly helped me achieve that. Like, I've been getting up the last sort of 6 weeks every day, going to do my rehab. Kayla and I have been going to work out together. And there's days where you just don't feel like doing it, like, because we're not playing till bloody March next year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to know if I don't do it. But at the end of the day, like we spoke about, that perspective, that, being a better person for my daughter, like that, they're all sort of little triggers that I sort of just be like, well, if it really comes to it, you're letting yourself down, you're letting your daughter down. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, so that's my daily thought process. And it's not overthought. It's not on a massive scale. It's just little triggers at certain points in time that, keep me focused, man.
I know what it's like, and I've seen a lot of other professional athletes talk about, probably as an athlete, we are a little bit selfish because we often get put forward first, and it's our partners that look after us and our intentions so we can be the best version we can be. But when you've got a partner who's high performance as well, like in Kayla, who's coming to go back on the court, supported by yourself, how does that work for professional couples out there to think enough about yourself, but also give what you need to give to the important person in your life?
Yeah, it's that's probably one of our biggest challenges. Like, we both need a certain amount of, I guess, selfishness. We need we both have that same mentality of we need to look after ourselves. But I think the strength that I've got from Kayla showing me her love and support towards me in terms of, hey, babe, I'm going to stop netball and I'm going to come to Australia with you for the next few years.
Nice.
Like, that's a game. Like, that's like, well, I can't even actually describe what that means. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to me. And then she gives me the best gift in the world in our daughter. And then an opportunity comes up to come home and play for the home team. And it's like, this is amazing. Like, this is perfect for so many reasons. And then it gets thrown in. Okay, the Warriors are going to be based in Brisbane next year. And now we're going, oh no, what is doing? Like, what? But now it's my time to sort of give back to her,
Nice.
And so there's no way that you're coming with me. Like, there's no way, we've got a lot of support over here. We've got our parents, we've got aunties, uncles, everyone, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be certainly tough. Kayla is going to wear the I guess the blunt end of the stick. Like, she's going to have to wear it. Sort of raising our daughter on her own. And I'm going to have to feel that pain of not being able to see her every morning and tuck her in the bed each night, But to me, the importance of Kayla having her purpose back and her sport is only a snippet of what she's given me the last few years, you know. So it's something that we're going to have to do, and we can do it. So yeah,
I
man.
love that you at that age realize that and you understand that, you know, it's because it's not till later on in life. Sometimes we look back at what we've done and think, shit, I was so selfish, or shit, I could have been more grateful for what my partner did or sacrificed for us. So that's great at that early age. You can get that done, bro. Let's talk about that golf game. Let's talk about you just breaking the internet once again this time, because Matt Burton's been on there about how he got pulled aside after a Cronulla Penrith game and said, "Hey, let's go to the Bulldogs because you're on your way to the Bulldogs, bro." Eh?
Yeah, so that's funny. Ice just bloody asked me, and I was just sitting here exactly how I am now, and I was like, well, I'm not going to lie about something that could eventually come back and bite me in the ass, you know. I was like, yeah, sweet. No, it was a chance of going to the Dogs, a really good chance. It was actually my number one pick. And then he's pretty much bounced it back to me and goes, wait, what? So it could have been you and Matt Burton in the halves? And I said, well, yeah, that's what the draw card was, really. And it was as simple as we played Penrith one night. They had a host of their Origin stars out, I think. And Birdo, he was playing 5'8" for him, and we were marking each other. So we were going back at each other all night. And this game was a real good game. We ended up just winning, but it was like edge on edge. We were going at it hard, you know, and it was a real good challenge. And I just pulled him aside and I just said, mate, great game. And he sort of implied to me, mate, I'm a massive fan of yours, you know, and I said, well, it's funny, what do you say about teaming up next year? You know, just sort of candidly, and he sort of just went wait, what? And I said, yeah, I've been talking to the Dogs and Trent. And he goes, oh, bro, sort of that would be unreal. And I was like, yeah, sweet. Well, I'm sort of looking likely at that point. And unfortunately, that was just throw him a piece of cloth and pull it away straight away.
No. Don't say unfortunately. Say fortunately, because it's a good thing that happened, because you're back on holiday for a little while. And you said the story a few times, but for those who haven't heard it, you know, golf, you were always a pretty good golfer, but this golf game probably meant more to you than a lot of other people, right?
Yeah, so me and one of my best mates were going out for a round of golf, and pretty much Mark Robbo got in touch and said, I'll join you and we'll go for a round of golf and we'll just talk about a few things. And it was nothing heavy. It was really lighthearted round of golf, and it was just a bit of banter back and forth, you know, a bit of well, if we get you back, that sort of vibe. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm definitely open to it, man.
I think that's called foreplay, bro. I think that's foreplay. So this started earlier. How early on? Was it the first hole, or did he wait for a little while? Did he try?
I think he waited a little bit. I think we hit a few balls. I think he was feeling himself after maybe birding a few holes, and then he could sort of start the convo. But it was real clean. But it was probably from that point on is where it started to really steamroll, because I think the Warriors knew that we had this offer from the Dogs and that it was looking, you know, like a good choice for us. And then, if I'm being honest, Mons, I've never felt good about how I left the club. You know, I've never ever, it's never sat right with me. So when an opportunity, even a sniffle of opportunity came up, it's almost sort of yep, all right, Pete, let's explore it straight away, you know, because there's no better feeling than playing for an organization you deeply care about and you're passionate about. There's no better thing in life doing something for a charity, a business that you've created that you genuinely have a passion for, right? So for me, that passion is the Warriors, and it always has been, and it probably always will be. So I'm very grateful and very thankful that that conversation started, and then the following days happened the way they did. Because it's certainly a really exciting time for myself and my family, knowing that I get to play for the Warriors.
You broke the internet, bro. You broke the internet. We're celebrating one of my business partners' birthday, and then we ended up hearing that news. So we had a beer. This was very early on in the day, and I had too many beers. And anyway, I went home a little bit early, but that was great news. So what's the value proposition that Shaun Johnson brings to the Warriors? Because when I heard that, I said, this is perfect. This is great, because Shaun Johnson at 21 years of age is different to the Shaun Johnson now. And I think right now you're perfect for this club. What do you bring?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Firstly, I think I'm the right fit for what they've got right now. And I think I'm bringing back a level-headed, you know, a head of calmness, a head of control. And I think a hit of confidence, man, like a confidence that I probably didn't have early on in my career, like I spoke about. I'm real, I've never been clear about who I am as a person and who I am as a player. And that's probably why I can speak so confidently about why I'm so excited about coming back, you know. And I look at the pieces of the puzzle that they've already got, and I feel like you just slot me in the middle of them and we can do something special. That's how I feel.
Shaun, just going to interrupt you there, because how important is it to understand your identity as a person, as opposed to also just identifying yourself as an athlete? Because I was talking to an Olympic gold medalist, Caitlin Regal, the other day, and she said identity is huge. You got to know the person who you are outside of the sport to help you to be the person you are in sport. Yeah. And that's obviously what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think it transcends across sports and business, right? Like, you have a clear picture on who you are and what you want to achieve. It helps that goal become a little bit easier. So it's funny. I probably had it around the other way early on in my career, where I sort of knew who I was as a person outside of football. You know, I always knew I wanted to be someone that, when I say I knew, like, I always loved interacting with fans, giving time, and just being that fan favorite. I really enjoyed that part of the game. But when it came to who I was as a player, I never was quite sure if I was the flashy, steppy highlight reel, or if I was the traditional 7 that controlled a side, you know.
Okay.
Like some of your classic halfbacks over the years that might not necessarily have the flair, but have got the kicking game and got the control and can push the team around, you know. I was always sat in the middle of that, because people wanted to see the brilliance and the lights and the shine, but then also wanted to see someone push their team around, right? So I think over the last few years in particular, working with a guy called Dan Hazler. So he is I guess a performance coach. I met him when I arrived at Cronulla, and he has pretty much taken my game to another level through the mental aspect, and helping me figure out who I am as a player and who I am. So I'm that calming, that controlled hand, you know, like I know I am now. And then I know what it looks like. I can walk into a game feeling exactly how it's going to play out. And whether we get the result from it, it's not about that for me. It's about the process and how did I do in executing what I know I'm bringing to the team each week, you know. And we had some good runs of footy there in Cronulla for a while there, and it was fun, you know. It was really fun. I loved having these youngsters out the back of me that were just pulling the trigger and just backing themselves while I'm in the middle, sort of building pressure with my kicking game and getting forwards into position, and then adding that bit of speed down a short side if I have to. It's sort of like I know the balance now, you know, and that's what I'm bringing back to the Warriors.
Yeah, I love that sort of team dynamic rather than just doing it all by yourself. Not that you were doing it by yourself, but it's the expectation weight on your shoulders, thinking I've got to touch that ball 4 times in a set of 6, and then 2 touches may be shit, right? But you're coming and you've been class in terms of your assists over the last couple of seasons. Now you're a different man to the one that played, and mentally and also physically. But I like the guy that is now. But Ali, he reinvented himself. How do you think you've reinvented yourself as a player, your mindset, your goals, your purpose? We're almost there, by the way, bro. Thank you for your time.
I think it's been a blessing in disguise, because it's sort of, I've been forced to reinvent myself, you know, through injury and through setback. Busted my ankle up pretty bad. Tore my Achilles. Had numerous quad, groin, hammy stuff now, lower back from a young age. And it has taken a step out of my game. So it's taken a step out of being just that instinctive, explosive person. But what it's given me more time to do is work on, the other side of being a halfback, you know. And that's how, that's sort of, I've used that setback as a tool, you know, to sort of, okay, I can contribute and be just as impactful in the game, but in a slightly different way. And that's been pretty cool to see the growth in myself, and work with people that have helped me do that, you know, players alike, like Chad Townsend. He is probably one of your most straight up, straight down traditional halfbacks, where he will just control a side and put so much pressure on you with a kicking game. To be able to see that and take that from him and learn from him, and I combine that with what I already have, it's like, yeah, man, like I like the look of that, you know. So that's me reinventing myself, man.
Yeah, I love it, bro. A couple of favorite moments in league. They don't have to be too long as well, because you've had some great moments, bro.
Yeah, there's I can't go past 2013 World Cup semi-final in England for the Kiwis.
Oh.
Yeah, a couple of those. what else was there? There was a game against the Storm a few years back at Mount Smart. I scored a try, and it was probably my favourite try of my career, just because it was pretty much straight through the middle of the teeth of them, and it was just we beat the Storm. It's very rare you sort of get one over the Storm, so that's always a memorable one. But yeah, man, like I look back at my career and I'm just like, I can't believe it's played out to this point the way it has, and I just consider myself extremely grateful and just lucky, man, because I was this kid with a dream from the Hibiscus Coast that got told so many times he's just too small. So the fact that I'm able to sit here and talk about it with you, it's pretty special.
I noticed that you didn't mention the name of that guy that didn't beat you in his team. That's all right. Don't name his Shaun. That's going to be good. The last couple of things, bro, I want to know your non-negotiables for Shaun Johnson, and you've touched on a few throughout this, and also maybe one or two favorite quotes that you live by.
Well, non-negotiable, like for me, it's again, I don't really have like boom, boom, boom. You know, I've just got a molded lifestyle, you know, and it's probably a little bit different in season to out of season. But when I'm in season, I'm ticking off like recovery is probably, you know, like my main one. So that's a real non-negotiable for me. I've picked up doing Pilates the last few years, and that's sort of changed me. So I was hitting Pilates even during COVID. I just stuck to it, doing it online, you know, like little things like that, little triggers that I know are going to put me in the best position to compete at the highest level in the weekend. So my diet, like I'm not overly strict in my diet, but I certainly don't let it blow out. You know what I mean? I'm not, I'm one that is confident that if he has something necessarily he shouldn't have, it's not going to affect my performance. So I like just to keep it in a regular check, you know, again, never too low, stay on the line type thing. So
that's funny because before you were married, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't eat anything that would put any skin folds up there, bro. You had the 16 pack.
Well, that's hanging around Ruben Wiki too much. And it's funny when I think about quotes that have never left me, I've got sort of a couple that I've found myself saying to myself when I arrive in certain situations. So the one Ruben said to me many years ago is that pain is weakness leaving the body. So I'll find myself in a hurt locker, whether it's boxing, whether it's conditioning, middle of preseason, don't know how I'm going to do this last rep. I'll literally tell myself that in my mind. Pain is weakness leaving the body. You can do it. Like, just go. It's fine. You'll do it. Other one is, and that's probably one I've used a bit more of late, when I'm starting to venture into things outside of football, business, you know, like just going, well, you miss 100% of the shots you do not shoot. So it's having a crack at something, you know what I mean? Essentially, it's just have a crack at it. Whether it misses, you know what I mean? It's irrelevant. You know, you throw it out there, you test the waters, you see what it's like, and you'll know you'll be better from the experience, put it that way.
Shaun Johnson, thank you very much for your time. You're exciting me about this young man still in my books that has come back with all that experience to be amongst the Warriors. Yeah, and every year we say next year's a year at the Warriors, and who knows? I know with another couple of years involved with you, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. And we might bring you back for another talk on your business ventures as well. So thank you very much for your time, brother.
All right. All good, Mons. Appreciate you, bro.
Just from Shaun Johnson and myself, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And remember, there's nothing quite like a real talk. See you soon.